Who was our first black president?
Well, Barack?
Get off the chair. Who was our first black president? Who's our
George
first black
Washington.
president?
Washington.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln was a Melungeon.
Wow.
He was part black, part white, and part Cherokee Indian.
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? He was a superhuman human being because
Melungeon. I don't know
he
how
was a
to spell
Melungeon.
it.
Melungeon.
And
Melungeon.
oh, there it is.
There it is. What did it
Okay.
say?
It says Melungeon ancestry of Abraham Lincoln.
What?
Really learning.
Strange things happen after
Attributed to Lincoln, he is the gentlest memory of our nation, it says here, by Clifton M. Nichols, and this is from 1899. A most remarkable and almost inexplicable fact is that, now listen to this, this is Abraham Lincoln's father, all right? We're going to get a clear description of his father. Now it says here, the most remarkable and almost inexplicable fact is that to Thomas Lincoln was reserved the honor of an illustrious paternity. Thomas was about 5 feet 10 inches in height, weighed about 200 pounds, had dark brown eyes, dark skin, and black hair. Thomas Lincoln, again, Abraham Lincoln's dad, dark skin, and black hair. He was always poor and indolent. He was a man of great strength but slow of movement. All right, so again, Abraham Lincoln's dad described as dark skin in this book. It says here, Nancy Hanks was a beautiful girl of pleasant manners and keen intellect. She was slender and symmetrical, above the ordinary height and stature, and had the appearance of one inclined to consumption. She was a brunette. All right, so she was a brunette. What does that mean? With dark hair. All right, so I know brunette, people usually use it for hair color, right? I know that, right? And I'm cremeo, but that means hair color. But they're already saying her hair is dark. Why would they say she's a brown hair with dark hair? Why would they say it again? She has dark hair with dark hair. We go to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, right? And it says brunette. Brunette. What does it say? Of a dark brown color. Brunette hair, for example. Having brunette hair. Also having brunette hair. It doesn't just mean brunette hair. It also means a dark brown color. Brunette. A dark brown color. His mom, again, she was a what? A dark brown color with dark hair. Soft hazel eyes, and it had a high intellectual looking forehead. All right, on page 218 of this same book, and it says that right here is the Abraham Lincoln's autobiography. Now it says here, the following autobiography was written by Mr. Lincoln's own hand at the request of J.W. Fell of Springfield, Illinois, December 20th, 1859. In the note which accompanied it, the writer says, now he says right here again, and it's in this book too, it says, if any personal description of me is thought desirable, it may be said, I am in height 6 feet 4 inches, nearly lean in flesh, weighing on average 180 pounds, dark complexion. He's saying himself, dark complexion, dark complexion. What are you going to say? Hey, Curimeo, that means pale. Also, dark means pale too. Dark complexion is dark complexion. I don't care what anybody says. They want to show us white images of Abraham Lincoln. They want to say, oh no, he just meant he was a little dark because he's Semitic, or because he might be a little mixed, or because he's whatever they want to try to say. Dark complexion is dark complexion. It's not pale, right? With coarse black hair, dark complexion. That's himself describing himself as that, all right? Another source saying the same thing. All right, we got another source here. This book is called The Everyday Life of Abraham Lincoln, a biography of the great American president from an entirely new standpoint with fresh and invaluable material. Lincoln's life and character portrayed by those who knew him, okay? The primary sources. And it goes on and on. This was written in 1887 by Francis F. Brown. And there's a section here with Lincoln's autobiography, which we are going to read a lot today. It says here, if any personal description of me is thought desirable, it may be said, I am in height 6 feet 4 inches, nearly lean in flesh, weighing on average 180 pounds, dark complexion, with coarse black hair and gray eyes, no other marks or brands recollected. Yours very truly, A. Lincoln, again, dark complexion, coarse black hair. All right, Lincoln himself letting you know. On page 42 of this book,
You have here Lincoln's parents. The father was a rough, illiterate, and thriftless man with peaceful, brave, social, and kindly disposition. He was of short and compact frame, with a dark, coarse hair, gray eyes, brown complexion, and brawny strength, which Abraham inherited. All right, we're going to read how strong Abraham is. Again, his dad is brown complexioned with dark coarse hair. Another source is that is also a so-called black man. The mother was cast in a finer mold, and according to trustworthy accounts, was a woman whose gentle instincts and lovely virtues would have adorned any station. She is said to have been beautiful in her youth, with a face of the brunette type. Her face is brunette, meaning brown, with a dark hair. Because right here is where they're talking about her hair. But right here they're talking about her face, again, brunette, brown, with dark hair, regular features, and soft, sparkling hazel eyes. All right, that's a description of his parents, people of color. On page 64 of this book says, Abe was now in his 15th year and began to exhibit symptoms of gallantry toward the weaker sex. He was growing at a tremendous rate, and 2 years later attained his full height of 6 feet 4 inches. He was long, wiry, and strong, while his big feet and hands and the length of his legs and arms were out of all proportion to his small trunk and head. His complexion was very swarthy, all right, very dark skin, very so-called black, very swarthy. Look up what swarthy means. That means so-called black or Negro, very swarthy. And Miss Gentry says that his skin was shriveled and yellow even then. Again, very swarthy. Can I get a so swarthy? Hashtag so swarthy. Abe Lincoln. On page 304 of this book, we got another description of Lincoln. It says here, Mr. Lincoln spoke in all about 50 times during the campaign. At his close, says Mr. Arnold, both Douglas and Lincoln visited Chicago. Douglas was so hoarse that he could hardly articulate, and it was painful to hear him attempt to speak. Lincoln's voice was clear and vigorous, and he really seemed in better tone than usual. His dark complexion was bronzed by the prairie suns and winds. His eye was clear, his step firm, and he looked like a trained athlete, ready to enter rather than one who had closed a conflict. All right, again, his dark complexion. And page 736 of this book says here, a tribute by John G. Nicole. Says here, President Lincoln was of unusual stature, 6 feet 4 inches, and of a spare but muscular build. He had been in youth remarkably strong and skillful in the athletic games of the frontier, where, however, his popularity and recognized impartiality oftener made him an umpire than a champion. He had regular and prepossessing features, dark complexion, again, dark complexion, broad, high forehead, prominent cheekbones, gray, deep-set eyes, and bushy, black hair, again, bushy, black hair, again, bushy, dark complexion, and bushy, black hair, turning to gray at the time of his death. Can we get a more clear description? Dark complexion, bushy, black hair.
Source says the story, Life of Lincoln, a biography composed of 500 true stories told by Abraham Lincoln and his friends. Again, true stories selected from all authentic sources and fitted together in order, forming his complete life history by Wayne Whipple, author of The Story of the White House and Its Home Life, The Minuteman, The Story of Plymouth Rock, etc. Memorial edition. All right, scholarly source here. And this book is from 1908. All right, so we're on page 19 of this book, and right here it talks about Nancy Hanks. Again, that's his mom. It says Lincoln's mother. It says at the time of her marriage to Thomas Lincoln, Nancy was in her 23rd year. She was above the ordinary height and stature, weighed about 130 pounds, was slender built, and had much the appearance of one inclined to consumption. Her skin was dark. Again, dark. Her dark brown eyes, gray and small. Remember, they called her brunette, dark brown, and right here they calling her, saying her skin was dark. So brunette and dark brown, brunette, dark brown, dark. All right, what are we talking about? Couple-colored tribes of America. What are we talking about? An aboriginal here? Eyes gray and small, forehead prominent, face sharp and angular with a marked expression of melancholy which fixed itself in the memory of everyone who ever saw or knew her.